Welcome to OUTdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. OUTdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to OUTdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. We're recording this episode on Tuesday after the Super Bowl. And because we're in advertising, everyone pays attention to the ads, and here at Callis, it's tradition to get together and talk about them. So here we are. We're going to talk about which ones stood out, which ones were the best liked, the funniest, the most effective, the weirdest. But in all of them, we think and talk about the why, because the why is the strategy behind them. Before we begin, we do want to congratulate the Eagles and their fans on a great season and, unfortunately, a dominating win. You know, if you're a Chiefs fan, you are probably disappointed, but what a great season it was, coming back to win so many close games. You know, I have to think that a lot of that comes from everything we think about when we talk about rural America. The hard work that goes into being successful, grit, tenacity, endurance, fighting through adversity, believing in yourself and your teammates, never giving up, strong leadership, and family. That's what rural America is all about, and the Chiefs are a testament to all of this. So today we've got a couple members of our ad agency team online with us to discuss their thoughts on the game, their ad picks, and it's always interesting. There's usually one or two or three that everybody likes, and the others probably appeal in some way to the target audience that's watching. So welcome to Agency President Megan Hartman and Account Executive Josie Gregory. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let's start with the game itself. Either one of you guys Eagles fans?
Absolutely not.
Definitely not.
What are your thoughts about the game?
It was devastating to watch. I think we all hoped, obviously, that the Chiefs were going to make history and get the three-peat, but even just hoped for a closer game. And, you know, the Chiefs are just so known for coming back. Even when we started off rough, it's like, okay, well, the Chiefs always come back, so we're going to hang in there. And then it was just hard to watch.
Yeah, I'll second that. I've been a Chiefs fan since I was a kid, back when way before Mahomes, and they didn't even remotely play like they do now. So it just brought back those days. We're just used to them winning, and we didn't. And unfortunately, there was a lot of negative chatter online, and just really, I think back to when the Patriots were amazing and nobody liked the Patriots. And now that's how it is with the Chiefs. So it's just a hard loss and devastating to see all the hard work in the way it did with such a blowout. But it is what it is. The Chiefs will come back next year, and excited to see them continue.
Yeah, I agree with all that. What a great season, and you don't always win. And they lost a couple of other games this year, and they just came out flat and kind of stayed there. And then early in the second half, they gave everybody a little glimpse of a maybe, which, you know, didn't last very long. So the other thing that many people look out for, I know my daughter was really looking forward to the halftime show. What'd you guys think of it?
I just didn't get to see all of it. That was kind of when our little house party, kind of everybody started talking and stuff. And so I had to go back and watch some of it, and then got to see all the discussions of what everything meant. And then that kind of made it all make more sense. It wasn't really my personal taste, but I see kind of the representation of what it meant to everyone else. And we maybe weren't the for sure, or I wasn't the target market, but.
Yeah, I think the interesting part were all the little subtle pieces hidden throughout the performance. I prefer some of the last few years of artists that were popular when I was younger, but I think the way that they tied in a lot of the beef with Drake and really how it's just kind of blown up online is crazy. I think the first diss track to ever win a Grammy was a little telling, but.
Yeah, what did your daughter think about it?
They were asleep, so they didn't see any of it. Yeah.
What about yours, Cliff?
I don't know that she was being totally transparent with me about it because she really likes Kendrick Lamar and SZA. And of course, SZA wasn't on there that long. And her part, I really liked. I liked the stuff that they've done together. But, the social diatribe and it didn't appeal to me. I've talked about it with some of my friends and none of them really bought into it. But it's there to entertain. And I'm sure it was entertaining for a lot of people. So move on from that. Let's talk about advertising in general. I think there are some years where the ads just blow you away. And then I remember other years where it's kind of a letdown. What's your overall take on this year's ads?
I'd say there were some good ads. There were some that were similar. The Pringles commercial with the beard and then the other commercial with the eyebrows, like they're very similar. So seeing that consistent throughout two different brands was interesting. I resonated well with the Nike commercial and the Dove commercial for the women positive in sports. They say you can't win, so win. And then on Monday, I got an email from Nike with that same message with all of the athletes that were in the commercial. Caitlin Clark was posting on social after the game with her ad campaign. So I think they did a really good job of tying that all in together. Josie, what about you?
I also kind of noticed, yeah, the Little Caesars one with the eyebrows and then the Pringles one with the mustache. And I feel like there was a few different ones that kind of had like an alien out of this world theme going on.
Did you know that the Doritos alien commercial was actually crowdsourced?
No.
I heard that after the fact that the it was a crowdsourced commercial and they paid the individual that came up with that concept like $1 million.
Wow.
Very interesting concept.
That is very interesting.
Not sure that one was worth $1 million.
I would agree.
Doritos has a great history of producing some phenomenal spots. And some of them were done, just like you said, either crowdsourced or using little bitty agencies and letting them compete for the opportunity to have a Super Bowl spot. But I don't think personally that one was one of their best. But Josie, overall, what's your take? Was it a strong year, weak year, somewhere in the middle? What do you think?
I would say in the middle, all my Chiefs fan friends are like, well, we're back to that the Super Bowl's only about the commercials. And then someone else is like, well, those aren't good either. So I don't think they were terrible, but I don't think there was one in particular that I think was just completely amazing or anything. But I do think there were a lot that resonated. I really, really like the Lay's, the little farmer, the girl that planted her potato and really cared about that. That one resonated with me. I really like those ones that just make you feel good. And of course, the Budweiser, the Clydesdales, just those ones that kind of hit home, especially, kind of with that rural America feel.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people particularly talking about the Clydesdale ad as maybe the best ever, and they've had some good ones. So I don't know whether it reached that level or not, but it was pretty good. And yeah, it made you feel good. And you both bring up a couple of points said in a little different way than this, but there's a lot of hype that goes with the advertising and establishing this pretty high expectation for cutting through the clutter and being memorable and tying back to the brand and being creative and being strategic and all that. So they set the expectations very high. And you guys know, because I preach this all the time, that if you set the expectations high, you better deliver, right? Or in fact, over deliver. And honestly, I think there were a small number that I thought exceeded expectations. And we'll get to talking specifically about some here in a minute. I think the other point that you make there, Megan, talking about the Nike ad particularly, and there was a couple of other ones that did this, they took the big idea and they broke it up into a lot of pieces. And that's what we try to do in our agency, right? Come up with that big idea that you can execute in lots of different ways. And I thought Nike really surpassed it. Now, that ad was geared to females, right? No question about it. I still like the ad. I thought it was very effective. And then their follow up on social and digital and email was brilliant. But advertisers paid like $7, $8 million for a 30-second commercial. So if you're going to spend that kind of money, you probably ought to round it out a little bit and try to leverage it into other things. I think there are several good ads that we're going to want to talk about, and we can talk about good ones. We could talk about not so good, memorable. Before the game even started, even a couple of hours ahead, there was an ad from a company called Garage Beer. If you were watching the pregame, you saw it. If you weren't watching the pregame, it was the only ad I think that ran that night for Garage Beer, which I've never heard of Garage Beer. And being 2 hours ahead of the game, they probably didn't pay 7-8 million. They might have been half that, might have been less. Actually, I don't know where the tier breaks. And their tagline was, "This beer's for you." I thought it was really effective because A, I'd never heard of it. B, they did a play on the King of Beer theme. They had a grill that appeals to guys that grill, right? And it was really simple. And I just thought, wow, that's a really great way of getting your name out there and establishing a brand when there was zero, to me, zero identity before the ad.
And there wasn't actually anybody in the ad, if I remember correctly. I saw one and they were just stacking the beer in the fridge. One thing that stands out is the beer in the second row was perfect, and then he wasn't putting them in perfectly on the top shelf, and that drove me crazy. But I remember it. But Jason Kelsey is a spokesperson for Garage Beer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which was interesting that he wasn't in the commercial. He's active on Instagram and on his social promoting the beer, but it was interesting that they didn't use him.
Well, that adds to the cost, right?
Absolutely.
And oh, by the way, guys don't care if the beer's in the case crooked as long as they can get their hands on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, other ads that just really stood out to you as maybe memorable.
I really liked how I think Rocket and Bud Light with the cul-de-sac commercial did a really good job of tying back into the stadium. So after the Rocket commercial, it was the Country Road Take Me Home was playing, and then the crowd was singing it when it cut back to the stadium. And then with the Bud Light commercial, Peyton Manning was stacking, he actually had the huge cooler that was in the commercial and he was filling it with Bud Light. So I think it's cool how they timed that, and just we know what it takes to make that actually happen. And I can imagine whoever planned that just being like, oh, thank goodness it worked out, it timed correctly. So it was exciting to see that, and I appreciated it. And I think they did a good job with those two.
Oh, I definitely agree, particularly on the Rocket Mortgage ad. To go back to the stadium and people singing West Virginia, Take Me Home, which everybody, who doesn't love that song, right? To orchestrate that and to have that, it took a 30-second commercial and made it like a 60-second and one that everybody can relate to. So, yeah, I really thought that too. How about you, Josie? Any that just really built their brand, really stood out to you?
Oh, let me think. Um,
While you're thinking, I'll say a couple. I think it was right before halftime, the Angel Soft bathroom break. Angel Soft tissue paper, right? TP. Now it's time for a bathroom break. Brilliant. It is time. You're not going to miss anything. They're making their point. They're building their brand. Very simple, but I thought brilliant idea on that one. Another I thought was, and this one we'll get to weird here in a minute, but the T-Mobile Starlink commercial, that was powerful. Big news. Essentially, T-Mobile is partnering with Starlink, free service until July. So amazing promotion. So you got star power, you got big news, you got free, which is one of the three biggest words in advertising, and you got this promotional offer that I'm guessing millions of people will be taking advantage of. So I really thought that one was really powerful.
I think the Coors Light, the case of the Mondays, them rebranding all of their packaging was great as well. I know that started prior to the Super Bowl, but you think about the Super Bowl Mondays, the most called in day of the year. And I think they did a nice job of grabbing, you got a case of the Mondays and it's their actual beer. So I think they did a nice job of that.
I agree. A couple other ads that I thought really stood out to me. Pickleball is such a hot sport, fastest growing sport in America. So Ultra taking advantage of that with the older couple, that goes around and sets up the young couples and then beats them and wins the ultra. I thought that one was really good. There again, appealing to a certain audience, but very targeted, very good message. I think another one where they took advantage of a target market was the Hellman's Mayonnaise commercial with the play on When Harry Met Sally with Meg Ryan. Again, if you've seen the movie, you can relate to that. And it was very well executed too.
Yep. And that's an iconic scene that even if you haven't seen the movie, you maybe have at least heard that scene.
Others that stood out?
One other one that stood out to me just because the Mountain Dew commercial with the ugly monkey baby from years ago, I still remember that commercial. And Instacart, it was towards the beginning, pulled many of the characters from previous Super Bowl commercials. It had the Old Spice guy. There were a lot of actual characters from different brands. And they used those characters instead of necessarily the logos or the products for the commercial. It caught my attention. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a Mountain Dew commercial. And they brought back the ugly monkey baby. But they didn't, but it was a piece of it. So that one stood out to me. And it was kind of fun trying to remember the different characters from past Super Bowl commercials or just commercials. So I thought that one was good.
Kind of shows you the power of character.
Yes, absolutely.
I like the Stella with David and Dave and the journey of finding out he has a brother, the other David. And I thought that one was clever.
Yeah, going back to the Mountain Dew commercial, Seal playing a seal was weird.
That was weird.
That was really, really weird. And I hope they paid him a lot of money because that one was bizarre. Again, memorable. Doesn't make me want to drink Mountain Dew. But I thought that one was just weird. And then another, I don't know if weird. Weird's not really the right word, but the breast cancer with all the breasts.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
When we got to the end of that, I don't know what to think about.
Uh-huh.
But I'm interested in the female perspective on that.
I honestly, so it's just my husband and I watching the game. During the commercial, I look over, I'm like, what's he looking at? And he's like, not look. There was a piece that I liked because, yes, that is accurate. There is a lot of attention there, but it's not maybe the attention that women need to focus on. So there is that piece, that reminder, and it caught your attention. But I'm glad my small children weren't sitting watching during that time either. So it's one that I do remember.
It's memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about, all the years I grew up watching the Super Bowl with like a youth group all together. And I'm like, I wonder what all those groups are thinking right now. All the pastors are jumping over to shut the TV off really quick or something. But it really was attention grabbing. And I think it got the point across. But it was definitely out there.
Definitely out there. One that a lot of people are talking about over the last couple of days was the WeatherTech ad with the old ladies Born to be Wild. It was comical. It kind of made you feel good. They're having a great time. It's Super Bowl, but tied back to WeatherTech because that's different than their traditional approach to advertising. And they do a great job. I really think WeatherTech does a great job of positioning their product. But that one kind of took it to maybe a little different level.
I would agree. I think that one stood out. So it was, and honestly, the whole time I was thinking, what is this a commercial for? Until they actually showed the mats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another one, just kind of stood out to me. I've seen, and I've even been around people that were drinking liquid death.
Uh-huh.
I've not tried one. I'm not really wanting to die that way. But the idea of drinking on the job, I'm like, now that's clever.
It is clever.
That's really clever. So that one kind of stood out to me for that reason.
And I did like that. Don't worry, it's just water at the very end.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, this isn't alcohol, is it? Like it kind of like got you thinking, like, what is going on?
Yeah. And Josie, you brought up the Stella commercial and it had Matt Damon in it, and he talked about Ben Affleck. And then in the Dunkin' Donuts commercial, Matt Damon wasn't in it this year, and they were talking about him. So I thought it was kind of cool how they were both talking about each other in their commercials. And whether or not that was intentional or not was interesting. But I wasn't as big of a fan of the Dunkin' Donuts commercial this year as I was last year.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that too. And you know what? They had maybe the number one spot. It was the first ad after the game started.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. That had to be an expensive commercial to produce with all the star power and all the special effects and just a lot going on. But I don't really feel like it was that effective from a brand standpoint.
They needed Matt.
I guess they did.
Yep.
How about the most emotional spot? Is it the ones you mentioned earlier?
I think the Dove commercial got me, but it resonated having two small girls at that age where they're starting to already at 6 and 8 have comments about their bodies, which is just insane because we don't talk about that at home, but they hear it and they see it. But I think that a 3-year-old loves her body and it's powerful. And it reminds me of the Run Like a Girl commercials in the past where you ask, a young girl to run like a girl and it's powerful. And you ask a teenage child and she runs crazy, but that's not accurate. So I think that one appealed to me. The Jesus commercial was fantastic again this year. I loved seeing that come back. I think last year was the first year that there was that focus, but with the uncertainty in the world today, I think that was powerful and it was a great message. Those two really stood out to me from the emotional side. And really, I'll throw the Nike one back in there as well. Having, young female athletes in our family and raising them to be strong and know that women can do anything they put their minds to.
Yeah, definitely the Nike one. And to me, being a little bit older and out of sports, it kind of brought back that feeling of high school sports and track and field and everything. And that just kind of that hype that like you can do it, and brought back because it's emotional because like I miss those days. I miss the hype of the sports and everything. And then also just that applies to anything in life, not just sports. We can do anything.
We can.
Well, and the other one that follows along in that same vein is the NFL spot with the girls' flag football. I just thought that was a really good ad. I think one of the themes that kind of keeps coming up, it's reoccurring, is this targeting to females. And maybe that's part of what the NFL is trying to do and through advertising do is give girls confidence, hope, future, work hard, succeed, which is, a great message for today's young people because, it's another world and they're dealing with pressures that we didn't deal with.
Absolutely.
And so they need that. And I think it's reassuring to me that there are entities and organizations out there that are promoting that.
I would agree.
Another one that I thought was really well done, it was right after the Duncan ad. In fact, it's the little boy in the hospital and he's a fighter. And the message is we're going to knock out cancer, and how he comes out of the hospital and he's fighting. And I was really honestly waiting to see who the brand was. Who is this brand that's doing this? And it was Pfizer. Very subtle. It wasn't in your face at all. It was, I thought, a very well executed ad. To me, very emotional.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I blocked that one out because that one was much of a tearjerker.
And the way at the end when he goes into his mom's arms and they're home, that's the part that, yeah, that just hit. That was really emotional.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Yes.
So just in looking at general themes, we've got girl power, I think is one. And I don't know that I'd call it a theme necessarily, but the game was on Fox and Fox had a lot of ads throughout. And is that because they didn't sell as many as they wanted to sell? Or they realized that these are valuable? I think we're going to keep a few for ourselves. You all have thoughts about that?
I think it's an interesting concept. And I'm trying to think about any big players that weren't in the Super Bowl that usually are. And there aren't a lot that come to mind. I remember the Coke commercial in the very beginning, and I think that was maybe during the pregame. Did you guys see that one? It was more of like the history of Coke and
Yes.
as a sponsor then, now, and forever, whatever it was. But I remember liking that one in the beginning. But yeah, it's an interesting thought. Did they really save that, or did they not sell out? And my thought would be they maybe didn't sell out because there were 3 or 4 spots, I think, that I saw.
Yeah, I think at least that, if not more. But again, what a great opportunity to get more people to watch. Well, as we close up today, any other final specific spots you want to talk about, or any other themes or thoughts in general that you'd like to share?
I think the expectation is always really, really high for the Super Bowl commercials. And the funny ones or the ones that have that emotional appeal are usually the ones that people talk about after the game. And I can't look back and think of any that are just like, wow, other than the ones that the Dove and the Nike, those are the ones that really resonated well for me. But it's been a few years since there have been those really, really funny commercials that have had people continuing to talk.
Like, was
Exactly. That's the one I think about, the Budweiser frogs. And those are, gosh, if I looked it up, it's probably 20 years old. I don't know. But those are older spots. So
the power of advertising.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Josie, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think to me, obviously being in marketing, I'm watching it from a perspective of the big ideas. I want to see the ones that make me feel like, oh, I wish I thought of that. And yeah, there were several, I think, this year that were good. Just a couple quick ones that I don't think we talked about. The Google Pixel Dream Job. I thought that one was clever. Or the Disney Plus, kind of how they undid, what if this didn't happen? What if this didn't happen? And then flipped it around, but this did happen. And I kind of like the story of that one. And that's kind of what resonates with me, is the ones that tell the story well, because that's what we're trying to do every day is tell the story well. I think I would say it was a good year of ads. Maybe not a great year, but there's some good ones.
I agree. Those are all good insights, ladies. Appreciate you sharing those with our audience, and I appreciate you being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Cliff.
Yeah, thank you.
Folks, thanks for listening to OUTdrive. If you like the show, go out and give us a rating and review. Make it a good one. And come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America, where it is heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on OUTdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to eCallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, OutThink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.